Hello, my friend. In today's video, I'll show you 4 quick steps to get new Clay clients as a freelancer. And this is specifically what I wish I knew when it came to implementing Clay as a service and getting new clients 2 years ago when I just started offering this as a service. Now, this requires 4 steps, as I just mentioned. The first step is to identify product-aware prospects. Now, this is very, very important because whenever you offer your Clay services, a lot of the prospects would have no idea what the hell Clay is. So it's very important that you don't try and educate people because that takes way longer in terms of sales cycles. And let's be real, you probably don't have the time to wait for them to figure out what Clay is, what the use cases are, and so on. And this is why the first step is to basically identify people that are product aware. Now, there are 3 main places where you can find product-aware prospects. The first place is probably the most intuitive one. You can get a free trial with Trigify, and all you do is go to the keyword engagement section, you type in the word Clay, and then you see how many times people engaged with this specific keyword in a specific date range. So you can basically look for anyone that's engaged with Clay twice within the last 7 days, and you have a hit list of 2,000 prospects that you can then straight away just export into a list and then push it straight into Clay itself, where you can then qualify those prospects. So in a nutshell, the reason I like this is because you can get all of this data completely for free on a free trial. And this basically just shows you anyone that's already engaged with Clay content. So the chances are they probably are educated about this and they see the use cases of Clay and they see the value. They don't need to be convinced about the value of Clay as it stands. Next up, we have Scrapely. And if you're not aware of Scrapely, you probably haven't been just anxiously scrolling through LinkedIn all the time, because if you saw this on LinkedIn already, you would notice that it's basically a tool that offers you to scrape the followers of a specific company on LinkedIn. And all it is you copy and paste the URL of a specific company, in this case, clay.com. You can then go to the order section, and in the completed order section over here, they will give you a whole Excel sheet, a whole CSV sheet with every single person that follows Clay on LinkedIn. And this is very powerful because people that follow Clay are very likely to be Clay users, or they could be in the market for Clay later down the line. So regardless, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed you use Clay, and this is something we'll talk about in the later stages as well. And then finally, the third method, which is the most intuitive, you can just target people that engage with specific LinkedIn posts. So a lot of the time, there are thought leaders like Michelle Lieben over here, who has over 40,000 followers. He posts every day these kind of posts shouting out a bunch of Clay-related sales tools. And all you need to do is just go after the most popular post, and then you can use a tool like Phantom Buster to basically scrape this entire post. And for those of you that are not aware, I have a video on how to use Phantom Buster with Clay. So all you would do is basically use this specific, I think it's like Phantom, which is scraping leads from a LinkedIn post. You can push this straight into Clay. You can then qualify those prospects as well. And based on that, you will have a list of people that are already engaged with Clay content, and hence they're definitely in the market. They're more likely to be in the market for Clay services. So at this moment in time, we already covered the first step, which is identifying people that are product aware. They're aware of Clay. I assume right now you already have them in the list. In that list, you can qualify them based on job titles. So are they a founder? Are they an owner? What's the company size? All of that good stuff. And over here, the first step is complete. The second step is probably the hardest one. So I'm going to try to simplify this for you. And we're not going to just pitch slap them and say, hey, we can just implement Clay for you. Like, would you want to jump on a call? Because that's so cringe, in my opinion. So I like to lean in with value. And the value here is one of 5 things that I could think of off the top of my head. And most of these things are things that we already tried inside of our agencies, so I know that this works. The cheapest way for you to basically add any sort of value is for you to just spend your time helping them out. So in this case, you can reach out to them and your value could be segmenting and mapping out the entire total addressable market, specifically for the industry that they sell into. So for example, if I'm a like a medical devices manufacturing company, I will basically map out the total addressable market. I'll find you every single company. I'll scrape you every single company in a specific industry that you're selling into, right? So that's the first one. Next up, we have looking at the sales tools and showing them how they can save a lot of money in sales tools. And this is super underrated because don't forget, a lot of the time, if you're watching this video, you would be aware of tools like Export Apollo, right? And bearing in mind that Apollo is it's probably worth billions of dollars, right? But people still use Apollo to source their data. And Export Apollo costs a tenth or a fifth of the price of Apollo. So what I'm saying here is all you need to do is just figure out what are the existing sales tools that these prospects use. And if it's something like ZoomInfo, it's a no-brainer to tell them, hey, you'll get the same data if you just go to Export Apollo, or if you go to Prospeo, or if you go to ICPs. And this is super underrated because a lot of these guys are very old school. They have been using Cognism and ZoomInfo and all of these really crappy CRMs and so on, and they don't realize how much money they're wasting there. So your offer could be, hey, I bet in return for 15 minutes of your time on a call, I can show you how you can save over $300, $500 a month on sales tools. And if it's the right prospect that you're speaking to, it will probably resonate, and they will probably give you the time to basically ask them a couple of questions on the sales tools. Next up, we have sharing a list of people that follow their competitors. Once again, for this, all we need to do is say, hey, send me the company name of your competitor, and I will send you 200 ICP followers of that competitor in return for a call. And all they would need to do is just basically send you the specific name of a competitor, and then you will just send them a list of prospects, once again, in return for a call. Next up, we have sharing a list of ICP leads with enriched emails, and this one is really popular. If you watch Eric Nowoslavsky's content, you would know that that's something that I think he was offering for the last 2 years, so we'll be a bit behind if we just jump on this right now. But I've seen this done pretty well in emails before. I received a bunch of emails from some crappy lead gen agencies offering this as well. So you may be in competition with this one, but if worse comes to worse, you can always just say, hey, I can see that you're selling into this ICP industry, and you basically get Claygen to research the ICP industry. And then after that, you just say, what if I found you 500 verified emails of this specific job title, that industry that you can sell to? Would that make your day? If so, reply yes. I'll basically go and scrape all of these ICP leads in return for a call, right? Something of that sort. And then finally, which my favorite offer of all is building a free clay table to help them sell to a specific industry. And this is very simple because a lot of the time when you lean in with such value up front, first of all, it lowers the barriers of the prospect because they're less likely to think that you're trying to hard sell them on something. And then secondly, when you build a free clay table for the prospect, a lot of the time you spot weaknesses in their sales process. So this is where you can cross-sell, upsell your services and so on, which low-key is a very good tactic throughout as well. Now, finally, we also have a third step. So by now, I hope that you already identified the product aware prospects. You picked a source of value, so you know the exact value that you want to provide to them. You picked the exact offer, in other words, like one of these offers that you're going after. And next up, the third step is to basically just send 1,000 emails. And this already assumes that you basically qualified these prospects in a clay table. So you qualified based on job titles, based on just basic things like the headcount of the company. And when you send those emails, I basically look for 3 things. The first thing is the hook, where you call out the prospect on where you found them. So for example, if you found the person, they follow Clay, just say that you saw that they follow Clay on LinkedIn. So say, hey, Tim, noticed you follow Clay on LinkedIn, and I guess you see huge value in building some killer Clay tables to target X industry, right? So that's a pretty decent hook, which just explains to them why you're reaching out to them specifically. Next up, we have a curiosity statement, which I'll show you later on. And then finally, you have a low friction call to action. Now, in a nutshell, what we're trying to achieve with the email copy is something super simple. The hook, short and sharp, something like this. Hey, since you engage with Michelle's post, I guess you see the value in using Clay to get new clients in the, and then you insert the industry, right? Then it's the offer. And once again, in this case, I was super transactional with the offer. I said, if I could build you a free Clay table in return for just 15 minutes of your time, would you take me up on that? And then a simple low friction call to action. Simply say yes, and I will send across the steps. Now, I understand this seems very, very kind of entry-level, dry, mediocre copy, but let me just show you one campaign that we did, which I thought went really, really well. Rather, this is not even just one campaign. This is something that I paused last year, and I still haven't continued it now because a lot of the time, the replies still come in, and right now we're at a point at which we want to start qualifying prospects for our agency, so we don't want to just work with anyone. And for that reason, at the time of us launching these campaigns, we didn't really qualify the prospects. And so we ended up just with a bunch of prospects that can't afford like a $3,000 offer that we're offering, a £3,000 offer. So in a nutshell, this is the campaign I'm talking about. We just sent 697 emails to people that engage with Eric's content. And you would see that this is literally the exact structure that we typically use, that I used, which is the same as what I'm teaching you here. Now, let's unpack this entire email. Hey, Jack, saw you engaged with Eric Nowslowski's post about Clay workflows. Once again, this is exactly what I just showed to you, which is a hook explaining why you're reaching out, like what you saw about them that stood out to you. Now, this is what I meant by a curiosity statement. And curiosity statements, they could be overused. They could be underrated as well. A lot of the time, you want to basically say something like this, where you say, oh, I hate to be that guy, but I have this cool way to do this cool thing. Do you mind if I share how? Just reply yes, and I'll send it to you. And 99% of the time, people reply yes, because this curiosity statement alone just makes them wonder, like, what the hell is this all about? So once again, you can paraphrase this. You can probably use ChatGPT to paraphrase this for you, depending on one of the offers. But all we're after here is just finding 1,000 prospects to who we can send one of these offers. Now, as soon as we send one of these offers, we have a thing called subsequences inside of Smart Leads. So once again, this will be common across other platforms as well. And the way that Smart subsequences work is you click on Add Subsequence. Over here, you can add lead based on text contains. And then basically anytime that someone replies yes, this will trigger a sequence of emails to be sent out to them. So in this case, you can see that there were 227 people that were sent this specific email. And if I go to edit it, what it does is basically just nurtures them. So it says, hey, here is what that guide that you requested. Then it's basically just gives you more value and more value and more value. Once again, you're not going to copy this entire system, but you may choose to copy the approach of using a subsequence, or alternatively, when someone replies yes, you will then manually reply to them and add the lead, connect them on LinkedIn as well, for example, right? The most common mistakes that I see being made right now when people offer clay table building, and people even offer it to me via email, because sometimes, these emails go to the wrong people. In a nutshell, first of all, in no particular order, I would avoid the specific types of clients that are mentioned here. So I would avoid any sort of custom or bespoke agencies, because I find that their offer is just super generic. And it's just like they want to be everything to everyone, and you can't do that. Then secondly, software development agencies, also very tricky. I've not seen anyone who's performed consistently well with this type of clients. And then recruitment and staffing agencies, which I personally quite like working with right now, but I don't think that an average clay table build would be able to pull off a good campaign for staffing agencies. Now, on top of that, make sure that you charge upfront, at the very least 50% upfront. The services, do not give them fake guarantees of booking in like 20 calls a month or something of that sort, because that's what I see every random LinkedIn freelancer have on their headline on LinkedIn. And that's just so clickbaity that I personally don't want to see any of these false guarantees. And one other thing is probably avoiding performance-based solutions. So never trust anyone that wants to work with you on a pure commission basis. Most of these people are time wasters. They probably don't have a product market fit. They probably don't have enough money to pay you. So I would stay away from any performance-based services, especially when you're starting out as a freelancer. On top of that, start with just clay table building. Don't worry about offering clay as a service as like the entire thing of where you source the lists and then you build the clay tables and you do the copywriting and you do everything. Just start off by asking the client to come up with an email copy for the copywriting. So ask them to come up with the exact copywriting. And your job is just to build a clay table. That way you will learn fastest when it comes to clay, and also it's a bit less responsibility. Here is the thing. This video assumes one thing, and that thing is that you can deliver the service for your clients. Now, a lot of the time as a freelancer, you may be wondering, what's the exact process when I onboard a client and I need to actually build out clay tables? How do I put this in the system? How do I make sense of this? How can I automate this with some custom GPTs? How do I use Clay with some other sales tools? And these are all questions that I had a couple of years back. And so for that reason, I created this great community, and I completely accidentally created the best course on the market for Clay.com. And if you haven't heard about Unlock Clay, you've probably been living under a rock, let's be real. And if you want to take me up on that, all you need to do is just basically go to unlockclay.com. You would see that it's the cheapest course on the market. It only costs £100, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And above all, you get access to a community of people that love Clay, that implement Clay. And if you have any questions, you just drop them in the chat there, and the chances are it will be answered fairly fast. So if you want to take me up on that, by all means, just go head over to unlockclay.com. And straight after this video, I'll make sure to link another video which shows you how to monetize your clay.com skills. Because right now, hopefully you roughly understand how to get new clients. But the next challenge is, how the hell do you monetize this as a skill? So this video will be straight after this video. Thanks so much. Cheers.